because we put you in here, right? So we here to make sure that they take care of business for our communities. I want to thank, and he's on his way, U.S. Senator Chris Van Hollen from the great state of Maryland for hosting our delegation. So thank you, Maryland delegation, for helping. Thank you, and we'll thank him when he gets here. Also, co-hosted by the Congressional Black Caucus for co-hosting us this year. So thank you, Congressional Black Caucus. The CBC's tireless efforts in Congress have helped to advance civil rights, economic justice, health care, education, and so many other issues that we'll discuss here today. As the nation's most engaged and reliable voting bloc, but who is that? Black women. Say, who is that? Black women. We have the power to affect change. Say, we have the power. We have the power. We know that when Black women show up to the polls, we not only vote for ourselves, but for our families and communities, as I stated, and this nation. We have saved the democracy how many times? Over. And our democracy needs saving once again. So we're here today to walk these halls of Congress, to walk these halls at the U.S. Senate, most specifically today, because we have to make sure that our children are here. We have high schools. Who here from high schools today? Right? I know a bunch from Alabama and other states are here today. And so they're here to learn from us, but also tell their U.S. senator, and some will go to House offices to meet with staffers, but to remind them why we sent them here. And and here's a focus for us. Our priority issues are to make sure they pass a fair budget. Say, pass a fair budget. Pass a fair budget. Protect our rights. Protect our rights. And freedoms. And freedoms. We're about making sure you protect workers' rights. Workers' rights. And make sure that all of our communities are safe with fair public safety policy. I'm going to say it again. We want our communities safe with safe public safety policy. Safe. Not to just lock our folks up. We are here to deal with the issues of privacy. We're here to talk about and demand that they protect the safety net. And what is that? That's Medicare. That's Medicaid. That's Social Security. That's making sure that when you talk about having not to have to, what to say, take care of our medicine, low cost of taking care of having to pay for medicine, not have to make choices of whether you can eat or whether you can take care and get the medicine you need. We're here about criminal justice and giving first and second chances, right? Around that, around criminal justice reform. And at the end of the day, when we talk about second chances, we're talking about making sure that we pour into folks so that they have an opportunity to thrive in this country. And we're talking about economic security and prosperity in this nation as our priority. So this time, I will bring on some of our national partners. I'm going to call your name and you come in this order. Our sister Cleola Brown, president, national president of A. Philip Randolph Institute. But she, like a lot of sisters, got to wear 2 or 3 hats because they need her so much. She also is the special assistant around strategic partnerships and alliances. Did I mess that up? For, she helped make sure they do right with community and partner up with all of us with AFL-CIO. Then you will hear from our sister leader, Sheena Mead, who is the CEO of Clean Slate Initiative. Okay, of the Clean Slate Initiative, but also has been with us for years from Black You Vote On, and we're so proud. You don't have to tell mine, I tell yours. So we know we will be that long, right? Thank you. And Sheena Mead, and then we'll hear from who will talk about not just criminal justice reform, but about second chances and what all that means for all of our communities. And Dr. Elsie Scott, who's the founding director of the Ronald Walters Leadership and Public Policy Center. And I say this, I don't want to hear this, Howard University. Just act like y'all didn't hear from Howard. HU. Okay, go ahead. HU, you know, right. And then we will hear from our senator, hopefully, and then we will hear from some of our state leaders and young leaders to talk about why they're here as a part of this coalition. Cleola, Sheena, Dr. L. All right, all right, all right. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. You have to be dedicated to get up and put on your go get 'em shoes to come and make sure that your voice gets heard. So I say congratulations to you before you meet with anybody this morning. You met with yourself. You met with your dignity. You met with the pride that comes with being a Black woman. Our leader, Melanie Campbell, said that Black women have saved this country. Yes, we have. And we going to keep doing it because if we don't stand up for ourselves, nobody else will do it for us. Now, let me tell you this. Workers' rights is tied in with all of these pieces that we're talking about. Because if there's anything a Black woman knows about, it's what it is to be a worker and 900 other things at the same daggone time. I'm going to try real good and I ain't going to cuss this morning, Melanie. But if we take a look at some of the legislation that's being provided, and I say provided because they didn't ask us nothing, right? Right. You have to read 2 times to make sure that you up in there. All right. I am not a PhD, so you're going to hear what comes out of South Carolina. Listen close so that you don't miss it. But workers' rights goes way beyond just the ones that are people who are going into a shop or a plant or whatever. If you get up every day and you go and meet the cause for providing for your family or having the right to make a choice about your life and what you do with your own body, you are a worker in the movement of being protective of yourself and your dignity. Amen. So when we talk to these legislators, let them know that we are not a one-trick pony. Not one issue is going to satisfy anybody. All of the signs that you see that talk about the pride of our family, about the dignity of work, that talk about the freedom for choice, all of those things are a part of who we are as Black women. Don't go in there being proper. Go in there being yourself. It's their job to know the number of the bill. It's their job to know how it ties to particular legislation. But it's your job to let the legislators that represent you know that you are paying attention. And that's why when Melanie say we're coming to Washington, D.C., we are here and on point. When we're talking from our heart and our history. Don't let that be anything fancy for you. Just be yourself. They understand that there is no question about honesty, about truth, and about dignity. And Black women got all of that. So we're going to show them that today as we do our walk. Thank you very much, Melanie, for the 2 seconds. I'm done.
Whose house? Whose house? Whose house? I need y'all ladies to understand that as y'all walk through the halls of the Capitol. That who house? Don't go in there intimidated. Know who you are and realize that you pay taxes to be here. This is your house and these are your employees. You employ the folks in here. And if you have somebody that ain't acting right, what you do? Just let them know. My name is Sheena Mead. I'm the CEO of the Clean Slate Initiative. But more important, let me credentialize myself. I'm a Black Youth Vote, Florida Youth Vote alumni. I'm a Black Women's Roundtable member. I'm a contributor to the organization, and I'm coming up here as a sponsor and a leader, and I'm so happy to be here. And from the South, a girl from the South. And I want to thank Miss Melanie Campbell. The dirty. We gonna talk about how dirty it is when we get up in there. But I want to thank Miss Melanie Campbell for for what she always do for Black women and girls. And again, I'm a product of the investment, the seed that was planted. I'm the manifestation in the plant that was rooted, and I'm the bud today. So I'm not gonna preach and do my 2 minutes like Miss Cleola said. So I just want to say, one thing about Black Women's Roundtable, they always show us to show up for our community, to not leave a sister behind. But I want to give y'all some haunting stats that there are 18 million women nationwide who have a conviction or non-conviction on their record. And let me break that down for folks who like it broken down. That means someone's been arrested. How many people have someone in their family or their friends that they know, raise your hand, that know that has a criminal record, that has been impacted or incarcerated? 1 out of 3 Americans, 1 out of 2 children have a parent with a record. And when we say, we're about civic engagement, bringing people to the table, bringing people to the voting booth. But what happens when they shut out? How do we ask people to show up for our community when they can't show up for work because they can't get a job? When they can't show up for their children because they're not allowed to go to the school on a field trip? when they can't get a career because they're excluded from 44,000 occupations and certificates. We need to tell Congress to act today and pass clean slate and give a pathway for people to clear their records because we can't build back better if we leaving people behind. Let me let you know, we can't build back better when we leaving 70 to 100 million people behind. And so as you go up there today, we're asking people to share your stories in the field. Let people know that there are people that is behind that could not be here with us today because they're out there searching for a job. They're trying to figure out how they can show up for the community and their children because they have a record and we're not going to leave them behind. Are we going to leave them sisters behind? No. Are we going to leave them brothers behind? No. So I'm asking y'all to show up and show out and talk about the Clean Slate Act and tell Congress that they need to create a pathway. Tell our administration when y'all go to the White House that we cannot build back better when we leaving 70 million people behind. Thank you.
Amen. Amen. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
I am Elsie Scott. I'm here with the Black Women's Roundtable, with the National Coalition on Black Civic Participation. And we are just happy that we have a good turnout of women today, a good turnout of young women today. And when you go to the Senate today, speak with your senators, and if some of you go on the House side and speak with the House staff, we need to emphasize that criminal justice reform is very important in the lives of Black people in this country. We have been brutalized by the criminal justice system. We have been the victims of poor policing. We've been the victims of aggressive policing. We've been the victim of over incarceration. We've been the victim of sentencing acts that sent us to prison for longer times. So we want to talk about reform. It's when George Floyd was killed, we thought we were going to see some action here in Congress. We had the George Floyd Policing Act passed on the House side, but it didn't pass on the Senate side. We got to continue to push for police reform. And I can speak about that because I have done both sides of the policing. I have served as a deputy commissioner for the New York City Police Department and tried to reform from the inside. But I've also been an activist on the outside trying to push for police reform. So policing is a local function, but the federal government has a lot of power in terms of bringing about change in police departments. We can't just let small 20-person police departments do what they want to do, not observe the proper laws, not train their police officers properly, not select people who don't have bad records, criminal records. So there are things at the federal level we can put in standards in order to force all police departments to clean up their act, to select people that should be policing us, to get rid of people who should not be on the police department in the first time.
Amen.
Because there's people that cannot be trained. We can talk about police training, but I used to run training programs. But there are some people who should not be in the police department in the first place. So no amount of training is going to stop them from brutalizing communities. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time, but I do have to mention, since we're talking about women, we have to talk about domestic violence, violence against women. We must look at how we can get the system to fight for women who are being brutalized. Because we talked yesterday, is that many women now, they have given up on the system helping them with domestic violence. We are turning to our sisters as the first responders instead of police departments. But we have to get mental health services into our cities to help Black women who are being brutalized in their homes by their spouses, by their boyfriends. But this is one of the main areas that I want to leave you with.
All right. Thank you, Elsie. She got receipts. Say receipts. You know, she's very humble about what she knows when it comes to public safety. Elsie, am I correct? Were you the executive director of NOBO? Yes. You know, National Organization of Black Law Enforcement Execs. What you do in New York? Deputy Commissioner of Training. New York City. So she not just talking. She done walked it. Thank you, my sister. I heard that the senator is here. Is that correct? Not yet. But I do know Vince Evans was here from the Executive Director of Congressional Black Caucus. If he could walk up here. Where's he at? Where's he at?
Come on, push your
And he,
hand.
yes, I'm from Mississippi.
No, Florida.
You from Florida? Even more home trained and act like he don't know when grown folks say, "Come on, come on." Right? He just ignoring me, y'all. Okay, we gonna thank you. Come on up here for us.
Thank
You
you.
represent.
Good morning, everybody. Listen, I learned a long time ago, you do what Melanie Campbell tells you to do. She told me to be here on behalf of the Congressional Black Caucus and our members who are obviously home in their districts today, the 58 members of the CBC. Let me publicly say first what we say privately to Melanie Campbell, which is thank you. I have seen these past couple of years here on Capitol Hill and in the White House. I've seen Melanie Campbell in rooms where there are cameras and rooms where there are no cameras. Melanie Campbell is the same in private as she is in public. She's a fierce fighter and a defender. So let's give her a round of applause. I want to thank the Black Women's Roundtable for your leadership. I will not repeat all the issues that you have heard, from police accountability and public safety to voting rights to equal pay for equal days pay for equal days work for women, women's health rights. These are all issues that the Black Women's Roundtable and the Congressional Black Caucus are fighting for. We're proud to be a partner with you, Melanie, and the Black Women's agenda. I will leave on this note. Anna Julia Cooper said, "When and where the Black woman enters, and the quiet, undisputed dignity of her womanhood. When and where the Black woman enters in the quiet, undisputed dignity of her womanhood, without suffrage and without patronage, there enters the entire Negro race. Black people don't enter without Black women." Thank you so much.
Well, I told you all. Thank you, Vince. We are so delighted and want to first thank Senator Van Hollen from the great state of Maryland, who is hosting us today. Senator, you have Maryland in the house. Where's Robbie Whitty? So Maryland is in the house. Our summit is being hosted at the Gaylord.
Yes,
We're
indeed.
spending money in the state of Maryland.
Excellent. All right, Melanie.
Right.
Thank you.
But Senator, so thank you he is our host. So thank our host. I do want to just read, if you don't mind. I do want them to know. Okay, Senator Chris Van Hollen is elected to the United States Senate by the people of Maryland in November 2016. Senator Van Hollen is committed to fighting for fighting every day to ensure that our state and our country live up to their full promise of equal rights, equal justice, and equal opportunity. So repeat after me. I say equal rights, equal justice, and equal opportunity. Technology is wonderful when it works, right? Senator Van Hollen believes that every child, say every child, deserves the opportunity to pursue their dreams and benefit from a quality education. And that everyone willing to work hard should be able to find a good job. That, and you have to repeat, I'm just going to say this last thing. That's why his top priorities include creating more and better jobs, strengthening small businesses, and increasing educational and job training opportunities for individuals of all ages in every community. Senator Van Hollen, tell us what you want us to know.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Melanie. It's great to be here with you. It's great to be here with the Black Women's Roundtable and with the National Coalition on Black Civic Participation. Thank all of you. And it is an honor to team up with the CBC. Thank you all for your leadership and to host this gathering today here in the United States Senate. I just wanted to come to thank you, to thank the coalition, to thank the roundtable for all the work that you've done over so many years, I think 12 years now, in terms of advocating to make sure that our country does live up to the promise of equal rights and equal justice and equal opportunity, and to make sure that we have an equitable society where everybody gets a fair chance, and that we also make sure that everybody has that opportunity to have a good job and a good paycheck. And when it comes to women, we have to deal with the equal pay for equal work
Yes.
issue.
Yes.
I want to thank all of you because Black women have been at the forefront of the fight in our country for justice and liberty since the earliest days of our country. I just came from my office in the Capitol, and on my wall there hangs the portrait of a great Marylander and a great American, Harriet Tubman. And we are fighting to make sure that Harriet Tubman has her rightful place on the $20 bill. And we in Maryland are working very hard to get a statue of Harriet Tubman in the United States Capitol. So I want to thank all of you for carrying the torch that has been carried from Harriet Tubman to so many other Black women over the years, because you, when it comes to casting your votes and calling for change, you are the ones who have moved our country forward. I want to thank you for what you did to help make progress possible over the last 2 years. Over the last 2 years, and we did a lot together, including ensuring that we have the first Black woman on the Supreme Court of the United States, Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson. Ketanji Brown Jackson.
Yes.
That was made possible because Black women and voters around the country came together to elect a president and a vice president
Yes.
who made justice and equity a priority in the United States of America. And that, of course, gets to the fundamental issue of voting rights. Because what we know is that as we gather here, there are state legislatures around the country that have already enacted and are in the process of enacting laws to erect barriers to make it harder for people to vote, especially to make it harder for people of color and younger people to cast their ballots, which is why we need, as you have called for, a national law to protect the right to vote across the country. That is the John Lewis Voting Rights Act and the Freedom to Vote Act, because we shouldn't have different standards. The standards should be everybody, every citizen should be able to have access to the ballot box without having to jump over a lot of hoops or stand in long lines that are specifically designed to make people get tired of voting. Now, Black women have never gotten tired of voting, but there's no reason that people should have to jump over extra hoops to exercise their right to vote in the United States of America. And we have to deal with issues of public safety. We need to get these weapons of war, these semi-automatic assault weapons, off our streets and have common sense gun safety laws. And we need to make sure that we have criminal justice reform and end the national scandal of mass incarceration in the United States of America, and have constitutional policing and pass things like the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. So we have a lot of work to do, including on the education front, including on the healthcare front. And I just want to end with this. We made progress in the last 2 years. We've helped lower the cost of prescription drugs for people on Medicare, including insulin. But we have a lot of work to do that across the country. And of course, deal with women's maternal health, especially Black women's maternal health. And so we look forward to working with you to make sure that we have an equitable health system, equitable education system. And of course, in terms of speaking of the Supreme Court, there's the good news from the court, Justice Jackson. There was the bad news, of course, from the court, which was overturning Roe v. Wade.
Right.
And as we speak, we also know Texas and other states are making it harder for women to exercise their reproductive freedom and reproductive rights. So whether it's healthcare, education, public safety, all these issues, we have made progress in the last 2 years, but we got a long way still to go. So I want to thank all of you, because you are the engine, you're the fuel that helps move this country forward. And I'm grateful for all you do and look forward to continue to work with you in Maryland and around the country for years to come. And for all of you who aren't from Maryland, come on over. We'd love to have you in Maryland. Take care and God bless you.
Thank you, Senator. Marylanders and what are Maryland people? Come on up, Maryland, so we can get it.
All right, Marylanders.
Come on over. Where's Robin? She stepped away. Come on, Robin.
And Maryland, we're very proud of
I don't know
our
if
new
Robin's
governor, Governor Wes Moore.
Yes, come on over. Okay. And then while we're coming up, I did want to make sure any Marylanders that come up want to get a photo with him before he leaves.
All right.
But what I want to also let you know, and I forgot to say this, our honorary chair
Yes.
is someone I know you know pretty well, and that's Prince George's County Executive, Angela
Ulsterbrooks.
Right, is our
She's
honorary
amazing.
chair, and we've been over there for 2 years.
Angela
helping.
Ulsterbrooks is an amazing county executive. Worked very closely with her. In fact, they just got a note from her this morning.
She's doing
Yeah.
a good job.
So
Just to let
she's
you
doing
know
a great
that.
job.
All right,
Thank you.
but can we give we're gonna say our senator, right?
Yes, indeed.
A round of applause. Thank you so very much again for hosting us, and I think folks are coming to see
And
you.
I will say, anyone from the District of Columbia, we need statehood for the District of Columbia.
Yes.
We need democracy and self-determination for the people of the District of
That's it,
Columbia.
that's it.
All right. All right. Thank you
so
very
much.
much.
Thank you so very
Thank
much.
you. All right.
Yeah.
Take the
And
hill.
then-
We'll
yeah.
see you in the office.
And then y'all can go take a picture. Yeah. Yeah. Y'all can go take a picture with us. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you again, Senator Van Hollen. And so we're going to have some quick remarks because we want to make sure that folks don't miss their appointments. We're doing good on time. Say we're doing good on time. So this next wave of folks, there's quite a few. Because we want when the state leaders come up, make sure you bring your Black You Vote coordinator if you have one with you, so that you all can share in your comments. So, but we're going to start with some of our policy leads with the coalition. Jocelyn Tate, who's our senior policy advisor, tech policy advisor, and all things policy advisor, quite frankly, who has an exemplary record around issues around technology and tech policy and how that impacts. We talk about equity and opportunity. She in there fighting the fight and represents us on the FCC Advisory Council. Am I correct, Jocelyn? Jocelyn Tate will come up to talk about our priority issue around privacy. Following Jocelyn, you will hear from Carol Joyner, who is with Family Values Action. Did I say that right? Executive Director for Family Values Action, who is our sister and partner. All are members of Black Women's Roundtable as well, who will focus on economic security, specifically issues around paid family leave, and also weigh in a little bit on equal pay and how important that is. Following her, you will hear from Cassandra Welchin, who leads the Mississippi Coalition on Black Civic Participation. Mississippi Black Women's Roundtable has been a fighter in the state of Mississippi around issues around economic justice and opportunity for Black women and our children, the issues of child care and many, many other things. She will focus on reproductive rights and equal rights. Following her, Helen Butler, voting rights. And I think you have Mary Pat Hector with you as well. And then Honorable Sheila Tyson, who will focus on from the great state of Alabama, who leads Black Women's Roundtable in Alabama. Helen Butler, I forgot to say her title, Executive Director, Georgia Coalition for the People's Agenda, and Georgia Black Women's Roundtable. And the Georgia folks could come up at that time. So if you're here, when we call your state, y'all come up and y'all do that together. And then we have other states that we'll call on accordingly after that. Jocelyn, Carolyn, Cassandra, Helen, Sheila.
Good morning. What does democracy look like? All right. As Black women, when we go online and do searches online or we use our social media, profiles are made about us that determine results that we get, which are less than favorable. Based on those algorithms, they determine our race and our gender, and the results that we get from search engines and on our social media steers us to lower paying jobs, housing advertisements in certain neighborhoods, and mortgage and loan rates at higher interest rates. Now, when the tech companies collect our data, it's being used and it's also being manipulated to advance voter suppression, target hate towards communities of color, and to certain religious groups, and create division in our communities. So the data that's being collected is also being collected by predatory websites that put our address and our phone numbers up online, This is detrimental to people who are escaping domestic violence because the predators will find them and it's hard for them to get that information taken offline. So what the tech companies are doing in collecting our data needs to be put in check. When the civil rights laws were passed in the 1960s, no one thought, they didn't even imagine a time when the tech companies would be able to skirt the law and discriminate online the way they are doing with us on that right now. So to combat this online bias and discrimination, hate speech, and voter suppression, what we want is online privacy legislation that's based on a civil rights framework. Privacy rights is the civil rights for the 21st century. Say it with me. Privacy rights is the civil rights for the 21st century. So what do we want? We want Congress to pass privacy legislation that embodies the foundational principles of civil rights and protects us online. We want data minimization, and we want to be able to hold tech companies accountable for what they do online. This was what we need in order to make the internet the equalizer that it's supposed to be. Thank you.
Thank you, Jocelyn.
Hi, everyone. As Mel said, I'm Carol Joyner from Family Values at Work Action. And I just want to wish you a good, beautiful morning in DC. Good morning, sisters. Good morning. Thank you today for coming into the district, for doing the work here, the important work here. Thank you, Mel, who brings us together each year to move us closer to justice. I cannot think about this year's theme, reset, rejuvenate, reimagine, without thinking about care. Without time to care, it is almost impossible to reset, rejuvenate, and reimagine. At some point, everyone will need time to take to welcome a new child, care for themselves, care for a very sick family member. Yet the U.S. remains, as everyone knows here, even as we are moving away from a violent pandemic that has killed 1 million people, we remain one of very few countries in the world without paid family and medical leave as a national standard and mandate, and without paid sick and safe days. We also are a country that is increasingly creating these childcare deserts where people have to travel for miles or actually have no access to childcare in their home vicinities. And too many elders have been left alone, home to fend for themselves when we could be supporting them with resources and programs. This year, we recognize the 30th anniversary of FMLA, our unpaid system of care. And in this time, over 30 years, more than 450 million people used FMLA. But folks, be clear, that's only half the population that needed it. Just over half of Black workers have no access to FMLA. And if they have it, they can't afford to take it because it's unpaid. You cannot stay home without getting a check and recover or care for your child and still put food on the table. And only 1 in 4 Black workers have access to paid family and medical leave from their employer. So building a 21st century care system must continue to be our work together. The care economy strengthens our families, brings organization and security to our communities, and it will stabilize our economy. It protects the incomes and the wealth of Black families and is the work that makes all other work possible. How many of you have known someone who got sick or a family member got sick, and when they got sick, all of the resources in that family were used to cover the medical costs, to pay for the time off, to put food on the table? We have to stop depleting our resources because this is the only nation without a care structure. We also know that gender and equity is critical. And so right now, the Pregnant Workers Fairness Act, it had been introduced recently, and we've got to get that done. We know that when that passed, it meant that pregnant workers were no longer going to be discriminated against, you know, in the workplace. The final thing is that the Paycheck Fairness Act, which addresses equal pay for all of us, since Black women earn about 54 cents on the white male dollar, which is still a shame, that equal pay is a critical issue that we have to address. So between the care issues and the discrimination against women in the workplace, we have our work cut out for us. When you're in there today, tell them that BWR is fighting for women, fighting for the freedom to care. Why? Because this is the fight for our families. This is the fight for our future. And we know that when we fight, we win. What? When we fight, we win. When we fight, we win. When we fight, we win. Thank you.
Okay, ladies, it's 10:40. 10:40. Say 10:40. 10:40. Some of y'all got 11 o'clock appointments, right? So and if you have an 11 o'clock appointment, come on over so we can get you up and out. So we're gonna need y'all to be brief. I had written remarks. Say I had written remarks, but I had to cut them down so that everybody here, all of our leaders, have an opportunity to be heard about why they came to Washington, D.C. Is that all right? So we're going to hear from Helen Butler, and I know Deborah Scott's here from Georgia. So you all come up, Mary Pat, and if there's anybody else that you want to stand with you all, following her will be Alabama under the leadership of Sheila Tyson. I don't know that Letitia made it yet, right? Am I right? Is she here? I haven't seen her. Letitia Jackson, but if she's here, bring up. So that's going to be, I'm sorry. Mississippi first. I'm so sorry, y'all. Thank you. I'm so sorry. We're gonna start up to Mississippi, Alabama. Y'all ain't gonna take me out. Mississippi, come on up. Cassandra Wilson. And you introduce. I'm sorry. And then Georgia. And then Alabama. The South.
The South is here. That's right. Mississippi is in the house. That's right. And we got our young people here with us as well, and folks from the Mississippi Delta too. I am Cassandra Welchel, Executive Director of the Mississippi Black Women's Roundtable. On Tuesday, advocates, lawmakers, and community members from across the country raised awareness about the wage gap that you've heard so much about, that impacts women and their families. And for every $1 a man makes, women who work full-time year-round, on average, make about 84 cents on the dollar. But for Black women nationally, we make 64 cents on that dollar. And in Mississippi, we make 56 cents on that dollar. If a woman wasn't hit with that wage gap, this is what she would get: 7 additional months of health insurance, 9 months of rent, a year worth of childcare, and 12 more months of groceries. And we know how critical that is. So today, while we're here on the Hill, we're going to be telling our Congress folks that the Paycheck Fairness Act needs to be passed. Amen. Lastly, reproductive health care and economic justice is not possible without reproductive health care. And so we all have a right to have children and to not have children, and to get the care we need and raise our families in safe, sustainable communities. The right to control our bodies is our decision.
Yes.
Thank you all so much.
Georgia. Thank you, Mississippi. All right.
Good morning. I'm Helen Butler, Executive Director of the Georgia Coalition for the People's Agenda and the convener of the Georgia Black Women's Roundtable. Georgia in the house. Georgia! Yes. I'm here to say, isn't it ironic, 58 years later, we're still fighting for voting rights. Our organization was founded by Dr. Joseph Lowery, one of the ones who got the 1965 Voting Rights Act put in place with its protections for the right to vote. Well, we're still fighting, but you know, there have been over 400 restrictive voter suppression bills throughout the country. Right now in 2023, there have been about 32. In Georgia, as I speak, our legislature is doing the same thing, putting barriers in place to block people from voting. But we're here to say we will not be deterred. We will fight for our right to vote, for all to have equal access to the ballot. And we're telling our Congress and our senators we need the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act to put those protections back in place for those states that discriminate. We're also asking for national standards for the Freedom to Vote Act. So Congress and Senate, do your job. We are saving democracy, as you heard. Black women saved it. We'll continue to do it, but we are fighting for the right to vote, and we will win.
No, I was just saying y'all stay together.
So our leader, Helen Butler from Georgia said it all. So what I want to say from Georgia Stand Up is when our rights are under attack, what will we do?
Stand up like that.
I said, what will we do?
Stand up like that.
When our rights are under attack, we will stand up and fight back. We have the receipts.
Yes.
We registered, we educated, we mobilized, we organized, and we're here in Washington, D.C. saying, pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Act today. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mary Pat Hector, and I serve as a state coordinator for Black Youth Vote Georgia. As stated by some of the amazing women from Georgia before me, in 2020 and 2022, young Black voters across the country gathered to make their voices heard, and they saved our democracy.
Yes.
And we are demanding in the state of Georgia and across this country that they pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. But beyond that, we're also asking for safety.
Yes.
Black students across this country should not fear going to school and being gunned down by the hands of someone who should not own an assault rifle in this country.
Yes.
We're here to advocate for them to ban assault rifles. And beyond that, Black students should also not be piled up or have mountains of debt because they are trying to seek higher education.
Yes.
So we are also asking them to forgive student loans. The president has been trying to push for this. However, we're asking Congress and Senate to just vote and support us in forgiving student loan debt. And I'll also pass it over to my sister, Liv.
Greetings. I am Liv Duncan. I am one of the Georgia State coordinators for Black Youth Vote. And just to go based off of what Mary Pat just said and the other amazing ladies, Black youth are on the ballot.
Yes.
They're always on the ballot, and they need to continue to be on the ballot. Though Black youth may not know every word that's on legislation and that's on policies, that is our job as Black women to stand up and to educate our youth.
Yes.
If they're not present in the room, speak for them. Teach one. Take one with you. Every time you go into a room, a Black youth, a new opportunity should be born.
Yes.
Yes.
So we need to continue to do that. As well, we also need to continue to focus on Black youth outside of election season.
That's right.
Like Mary Pat said, safety is an issue. Student loan debt is an issue. Access to health care, period, products in school and at home are issues. Bodily autonomy affects our youth as well. We need to continue to invest in our Black youth and our Black communities. Thank you.
We're going to have Pennsylvania come up. They have an 11 o'clock. And then after that, we'll hear from Alabama. All right. Pennsylvania, Reverend Dr. Judith Moore, who is the Executive Director of Sister Saving Ourselves Now, convener of the Pittsburgh Mon Valley Black Women's Roundtable. I don't know if Tiffany is here, but are y'all all in the same delegation going together, ladies? Can somebody let me know? Okay. All right, Judy. And then we're going to hear from the Honorable Sheila Tyson and her leaders. Thank you.
Hello, once again, I am the Reverend Dr. Judith Moore
for the Pittsburgh Mon Valley Black Women Roundtable.
Yes.
No one is more qualified than Black women to address the mental and physical wellness. No one is more qualified to address affordable housing, lack of opportunities to accessing contracts and capital. And no one is better qualified to grassroots boots on the ground civic engagement. We are qualified because we have been through some things, and we can testify that God is able to do exceedingly abundantly above anything we can possibly ask or think. But enough is enough. We know how to survive, but it's our time to thrive. We say to our elected officials, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatever things are of good report, if there be any virtue in you, think on these things. Black women are relentless and we're fearless, and we will not back down. We will not turn around, and there is more to come. Thank you.
Yes. Right. Thank you.
Alabama. Alabama, come on up.
Hello, hello. I am Sheila Tyson. I'm the convener for the state of Alabama. I have
Letitia Jackson from co-convener of the South Alabama Black Women's Roundtable, and our commissioner, Miss Tyson, will speak for all of us.
I'm Raquel Liverpool, a junior at Miles College in Alabama. Under President Bobby Knight.
we are addressing policing. And you know for a fact, the funding that go into the police department, I don't like using that word refund the police because we need the police. But the money that is being spent on weapons need to be redirected. We need to reimagine policing now. At this time, right now, the system is just a revolving door. You have no programs. Majority of the people that is incarcerated, 68% of the people that's incarcerated have mental illness. It is not being addressed. That money need to be redirected into mental illness. 68% of the people that is detained in youth detention, mental illness. 70% of the people that go to youth detention come from a family with mental illness that's in the household. Even if you correct the child through youth detention, you still have not treated the household. So you have to treat the whole family in order to correct this problem. 90% of the people that is in penitentiary have visited or some type of way been involved in youth detention. More than 70% of the gun violence that is committed by youth in the state of Alabama, they have went through youth detention. Right now, we see where it's starting so early and it's ending as an adult. The money that is being given for weapons, bullets, it needs to be invested back into the community. Also, we need to train the police officers how to recognize a mental ill person in cases, because all of them don't have to be solved with gunshots or beatings. We got to reimagine policing in the Black community.
Good morning, everyone. Again, my name is Raquel Liverpool. I am a junior majoring in political science with a minor in English at Miles College. On behalf of myself and the other three lovely student ambassadors, Brooke Jones, Bria McGrady, and Kaylin Washington, We would like to say that it is an honor to be invited to such a memorable event such as this one, and not only to represent Miles College, but to represent our lovely president, Dr. Bobby Knight. As student ambassadors of Miles College, it is essential that we do partake in events such as this one, and we do partake in organizations such as the Alabama Black Youth Vote to ensure that we not only mobilize the vote, but confidently express those rights that were rightfully given to us, and we should deserve them. It is important that we put ourselves and our future children in environments because power, strength, and numbers come in power. And as Madam C.J. Walker once said, don't sit down and wait for the opportunities to come. Get up and make them. Happy Women's History Month and stay warm. Thank you.
Yes, we also have Wandelin Gavan, which is the president of Noble Women. If you can come up, please. She's from the state of Alabama also.
Okay, y'all can clap for me too. Let's give it up for State Representative Wandelin Gavan. I'll be brief. I think everything has been said that needs to be said, but I'll just leave you with these words. I've heard several people talk about it takes a woman. Let's say it takes a woman. I've heard several people say democracy. Somebody say this is what democracy looks like. I've heard somebody say we don't feel no way tired. Everybody help me say we're not gonna let anybody what turn us around.
We're not gonna let anybody.
So let's just, I'm gonna leave you with these words. Ain't gonna let nobody
turn me around,
turn me around,
turn me around.
Ain't gonna let nobody
turn me around. We're gonna keep on walking, keep on talking. Walking up the freedom land.
So I just simply leave you with this. Let's not let anybody turn us around. Anything that needs to be done in this country can be done by a woman. Most of the time when it gets done by a woman. These issues that we're facing at the end of the day will be done and accomplished by a woman. The question is, who will that woman be? Will it be you? Will it be you? Melanie, will it be you?
Yeah.
Will it be you?
Yes.
Will it be you?
Yes.
Young women here, will it be you? Let me hear you make some noise. Will you be that woman today? If you are that woman here in this crowd, let me hear you make some noise.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good morning. Good morning. Everything has been said. So what does democracy look like?
This is what democracy looks like.
This is what democracy looks like. And from Alabama, from the northern end of the state to the southern end of the state to the east and the west, we will continue to fight, we will continue to win, and we will continue to move this country forward because Black women make it happen.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Alabama. Florida, Solandra Benton. Come on up, Florida. Who have I missed? What other states have not? Florida, come on up. Okay, turn it over to you, sister.
Good morning, Black Women's Roundtable.
Good morning.
Good morning, Black Women's Roundtable.
Good morning.
So we're on the Black Women's Roundtable from the Sunshine State of Florida, and we're here in Washington, D.C. to make sure that our state stay the Sunshine State by coming to the halls of the Capitol and to our citizens to let them know that we cannot continue, we will not stand for anyone to be making our state become a dark state by eliminating voting rights, by eliminating extended Medicaid, by eliminating Black history in the schools for our children. We will not allow anyone to pass any legislation or continue to think that they will be able to wipe us out, wipe our families out, wipe our children out, wipe our communities out. We are here, we come strong, we come long. We will, as my young people say, we will not look back, we will not go back. We are going to make sure that America is built better for our future. And we are here to make sure that not only that we fight for Black children and Black women, but we fight for the poor white people in Florida. We fight for the Latinos in Florida that needs paid sick leave, that need health care, that need good paying jobs, that needs also to make sure that their children have decent child care. We're here for so much. We could go on a list.
But we just want to let our senators know that we're coming to visit you, Senator Scott. We're coming, Senator Rubio, and we're coming to our congressional office today because we want to make sure that you cannot have an excuse that you did not know our issues. Thank you. All right. And yes, our Black Youth person. This is our Black Youth person. Mayor Blair Carswell is our Black Youth vote that's going to be speaking.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Blair Carswell with Florida Black Youth Vote, and I'm here to let y'all know the importance of the purpose here today. We have all these beautiful people gathered here today. This is Black Women's Roundtable, but we're all coming together as a unit to let our senators know that we will not stand down. We will continue fighting for our rights until we get them. Okay? Yes. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I am here standing as a voice for all young Black youth across the nation. Okay. One day I hope to be in the position that my beautiful mentor is in, so I continue to fight for the voices of those that cannot be spoken for. Can I get an amen?
Amen.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you, Florida. Now we're going to hear from Michigan. We've got Sister Stephanie Moore from Kalamazoo, Michigan, Black Women's Roundtable convener and Mothers of Hope, and our Sister Tamika Ramsey, who leads our Michigan Coalition on Black civic participation and the Metro Detroit Pontiac, Eastern Michigan, Black Women's Roundtable, and their Black Youth Vote crew. Come on up, and then following her, what last state I think is left? Maryland and DC.
Good morning, everybody. Oh, which one works? Did it all work? Good morning, everybody. I'm Trikayla Lipsy from Black Youth Vote, Michigan. I'm here with my wonderful sisters and my gang over here. Hey, y'all.
All right, Michigan.
So Amir's gonna tell you, what's been up with us.
Good afternoon, everyone. Black Women's Roundtable, our sisters everywhere. My name is Amira Williams, and I am representing Black Youth Vote, Michigan. Okay, got my crew behind me. This is what democracy look like here too, okay? All right, so reset, rejuvenate, and reimagine. I want you guys to reimagine a new world where the youth are the leaders. We believe the children are the future because we are. The time is now to reset, reach, and reteach policy to our young Black college age and young adult peers so that the torch can be passed and carried accordingly. The load that we carry is so heavy and fragile. Centuries of protesting, protecting, and building a nation that values Black lives. It's our duty to make sure ourselves, our peers, and the generations behind us are ready to continue the fight, understand what we're still fighting for, and be prepared to continue this fight because the battle is far from over. Black Youth Vote Michigan is devoted to educating and informing the college age and Black young adult community on what policies are most important to us and how we can put action behind our advocacy to build Black better. It's time for us to stop following behind our parents and grandparents, cheating off what they're putting on their ballots, and make sure we're learning about the policies that will have our best interests at heart. And know who is truly for us and our children. So thank you for giving us this opportunity, and we look forward to building the Black ballot.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. I can't say a word because that's my baby. I grew up through Black Youth Vote, now Black Women's Roundtable under the leadership of Melanie Campbell. I'm here with my grandchildren, so we are continuing the legacy. Black women matter. We're here. We showing up and showing out.
Good morning. My name is Tamika Ramsey. I am from Metro Detroit Black Women's Roundtable in the Michigan Coalition on Black Civic Participation. In Michigan, small businesses have a very good advantage this year because the state of Michigan has a $9 billion surplus. We want to make sure that that money is coming into small businesses of Black women who have carried this country and are now looking for our 40 acres and a mule in today's term. So we're not asking for handouts. We're asking for what is properly ours, and we're asking for it now.
All right. All right, Michigan.
Yes, I know you can.
All right. Thank you so very much. And let's get this done today. Thank you.